There'll be appointments.
Can I get everybody to join me in the pledge? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With that, we will call the city council meeting of Tuesday, April 23rd to order. We do have the quorum here, so we'll go on to public comment, personal communication, and correspondence. This period is for comments by the public and for the mayor, council, and city staff to present correspondence, communications, or comments. No action may be taken upon matter presented under this section until placed on an agenda for action. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. With that, do we have any public comment this time? Not seeing or hearing any, we'll move on. Next on our agenda is item C, proclamations, awards, and presentations. We have none at this meeting. Item D, business impact determination. The council must take action pursuant to NRS Chapter 237 to make a determination if any agenda item proposes an adoption of any rule which would have a direct and significant economic burden upon a business or directly restrict the formation or expansion of a business by imposing, increasing, or changing the basis for the calculation of a fee that is paid in whole or substantially part by a business. Council?
I'd go ahead and make a motion that there are no items on the agenda that impose a direct or significant economic burden on a business for staff recommendation.
Motion on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Move on to E, consent agenda. On our consent agenda, we have the meeting minutes from April 9th, regular council meeting, the warrants and expenses, administration, public works, street closure requests, and 2 street closure requests, and administration, graduation celebration fund requests. These items, does council want to pull any down to discuss separately?
Well, I'd like to start with the warrants. On the warrants, Alicia, for the Humboldt County Treasurer, the claims premium and administrative fee, whatever that is, 58,000 approximately. Is that for March?
That would be our April payments for insurance,
April.
health insurance.
Okay, April, all right. So we pay them the same month we get them?
We actually we typically pay Humboldt County, they're the ones who pay Anthem and they pay our claims. We typically pay them the last week, before the next month. So we pay our premiums in advance of when the claims occur.
Great, thank you.
Anything
got a lot
else
of
on the
notes
consent
on that.
agenda needs to be discussed?
And the street closures, I know we might have some people here on street closures, but they're part of the consent agreement, so unless they want to come up and talk about it.
You know, I would like to discuss the grammar school street closure request. So, do we have a representative here for grammar school?
It's Pilar Herrera.
Okay.
She's teaching.
My question there was, and maybe we can reach back to them, is, you know, they're requesting temporary street closure for May 3rd from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And half that street is residential with residential parking, and I'm just wondering, the residents coming and going, if we could just close maybe half the street for them or something?
Yeah, they just want it for food trucks, so as long as they have room to get
They're
food
just
trucks or something.
not doing the dance on the street or anything?
Yeah, it sounds like they just want food trucks for the families to
Oh, so just park on their side of the whole street.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
We could have them bring it back, or it could be a requirement if city council wants to approve, just
Half the street.
maintain access for residential parking and access.
Yeah, you need to do something, so it won't be another meeting before.
Right.
May third, yeah.
Should we take separate action on that one?
Yeah.
I'd go ahead and make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, excluding the Grammar Street closure.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, except item number 4. All in favor? Motion carries.
And I'd make a motion on item number 4, the street closure of Main Street in front of Winnemucca Grammar School, to keep residential access on one side of Lay Street on May 3rd from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Have a motion on the floor. Any further questions of it? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. With that, we will move on to business items for discussion and action. First thing we have on our agenda is administration. Mural proposal and contribution request. Proposal to paint a mural on the blank wall in the city clerk's office in exchange for the city contributing $1,000 to Teddy Swecker and Kitty Norcutt to defray the cost of the mural painting, supplies, and balance designated to support of their spay and neuter program for cats and transporting of feral cats. They're not here, so.
I thought they were gonna be here. Anyway, we had discussed this at a meeting a while back. The wall in question is directly on the other side of this wall, so the wall that faces the front office staff. And Teddy had offered to paint a mural. After discussing it with the front office staff, they have requested Teddy's made this sketch of City Hall some time ago when it was still the post office. They thought they would like that sketch recreated in black and white, so monochromatic. Obviously not showing the postal service stuff on it anymore, but showing City of Winnemucca. Teddy and Kitty stopped by last week, and their request was a $1,000 contribution to cover the cost of supplies, and then anything left over would go toward the spay, neutering, and transporting of the feral cats. I thought they would be here to provide a little update on how the cat program thing is going, but that is the request that they made.
Do we still contribute to the spay neuter program on our cost share?
So, yeah, they use the city approved, covering the spay and neuter cost at 100%. So for normal dogs and cats, it's at 50%. And then the spay and neuter program is also part of the cost share agreement. That is going very well. The part, that they're having an issue with is when they take those cats in to get them spayed and neutered, oftentimes they have other sickness. They need antibiotics, they need other veterinary care that, obviously Teddy and Kitty don't have a fund or something built up for that. And so they are trying to do little projects that would then contribute toward the funding of the extra costs that come associated with it. Teddy and Kitty are also, using their own funding for the transport, so nobody is covering the cost of transport. And they do have a, shelter in Reno that has been taking all of the feral cats that they've been transporting.
I took a little tour through their facility up at the county offices or the county, and it was pretty amazing how they have to kind of section those different cats, and from just coming out of being spayed and neutered to, the sickness that they talked about, and I could see where it could get a little spendy for those two ladies to take care of those costs. But I think they're doing a very nice job for the city, and it's something we need to continue and to try to help as much as we can with it, in my opinion.
I agree with this. I think it's probably one of the strongest programs we've had to reduce the number of feral cats with follow-up. I mean, they've just been doing it pretty much for free. I mean, other than getting volunteer hours and people donating to them, but I think this is probably something we can get a mural out of it and still continue to pay for her and Kitty's program. It would be interesting to hear them come in and talk. I know they both wanted to come in and talk. I'm sure that was right on the top of their list. But how many they're doing and what the numbers are.
Teddy did say that they did want to come provide an update because the number of feral cats that they've spayed, neutered, and transported is high. It's in the hundreds for sure. I don't know if they've hit 1,000, but they.
Well, the day that I was in there was 18 to 20 cats. And like I said, in all kinds of different cages and different phases that were either phased out or just coming in, or, so it was pretty interesting.
So in terms of the budget for this request, when we looked at our contributions and donations during the budget hearing, I think there was an item that we hadn't necessarily heard from that.
There are a few that we have not heard from.
Hadn't had an official request. Is that
That is true.
flexible?
Yeah, so we have budgeted for contributions that have not been requested in several years.
Right.
And all of them are more than $1,000. I know that. I can't remember specifically which ones they are, but they are more than 1,000.
Not to interrupt, but somebody online said they were having trouble hearing. Can we just verify that they have sound?
You can try that setting to see if it works any better.
Can you hear us?
Julia, can you let us know if you can hear us in the meeting? You're on mute right now, so. Ellen, are you able to hear now?
I was right at one, I wonder if it was before we unmuted.
I don't see it.
I don't see
I don't see
Unless
Ellen on
she's
anymore either.
just on audio.
Test. That's working.
Test. It's working.
Our speakers are working. I don't know, that should be the correct microphone settings.
I got a message back that they still can't hear.
Is anyone online that can hear fine? Or is,
I don't think if one can, I can, want me to close out and come back in to see if,
Why don't we do that, see if that fixes it?
guess everyone will have to rejoin.
Sometimes when I'm just early, I have to wait for somebody
can those that are online hear us now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll wait just a minute so those folks can adjourn.
No, it'll take it out my account. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wait for a few other people to join. Okay, we'll continue with the mural discussion. So we all pretty much agree that Teddy and Kitty have been a great service to our community and support their efforts. Funding, sounds like we have the money to do it, so what's the council feel about the mural and the $1,000 donation?
I'd make a motion to accept the mural proposal and the contribution of $1,000 to Teddy Swecker and Kitty Norcutt for the mural in City Hall.
Have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2 on our agenda. Paper manufacturing facility, presentation of plans to develop a new manufacturing facility located in Humboldt County that will recycle waste paper and used packaging into new packaging materials. Michelle?
Good afternoon, Michelle Hammond Allen, Economic Development for the record. Today I am bringing a project before you, Crossroads Paper, John and Ron Sassine. They will be giving you a presentation on their project. They approached us just over a year ago here in Winnemucca and Humboldt County as they were carrying out a search along I-80 for a home for their manufacturing facility. And so today is about announcing this project coming to Humboldt County. They have made the decision to locate here. And so we wanted to come before both governing boards and make the announcement and start engaging in those conversations as they want to make Humboldt County home. So with that, just a few facts and figures. This project over a 10-year period will generate $43 million in tax revenue. It is estimated with the Governor's Office of Economic Development and their economic analysis of the project. It's estimated at it's $1 billion over a 10-year period in economic value. This is a recycling project, which is very fitting that we're announcing this with Earth Day being yesterday, and it's spring and everything's coming to life here in our community. It's also a water wise project. This is something that's being pushed not only here locally, but at the state level to bring projects to Nevada that make sense with the limited water that we have. This project is a net gain to our aquifer. And so the water being used for this project is already allocated, and at the end of the day, this is going to save 75% of that water by returning it to the aquifer. So I think that's a really important point and something to celebrate as we continue to look for those projects that want to call Humboldt County and Winnemucca home, that also are good stewards of our resources. This project during construction is anticipated to create 600 full-time construction jobs that will have a ramp up during the process of building, like most projects, and take 24 months to construct. Over 100 jobs, an average wage of over $40 an hour. So again, good for the economy, good for the people that live here, as well as generating tax revenue for our communities. So with that, I'd like to introduce John and Ron to give the presentation on this project.
Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Dwight, you wanna come up
There's an extra.
I can move back.
I'll wait until.
When you get started, would you state your name for the record?
I will. Okay. I am John Sassine, S-A-S-I-N-E, and I'm the president and CEO of Crossroads Paper. And my brother is Ron Sassine, and he is our project development lead for the project. Same spelling of the last name. Okay, great. Mayor and council, it's good to be with you, and thank you, Michelle, for your introduction. As she's mentioned, we've been here for over a year, trying to find and vet and look at different locations within Humboldt County to see if this is a good fit for our project. And we are, after that long search, we are more confident than ever that we can bring a project to your community that is going to be beneficial for us, to be sure, and most importantly to you and your citizens. I have a few prepared comments that I'd like to read from, just to make sure I don't forget anything important, and then after that, Ron's going to take us through the slide deck. As we've been able to better get acquainted with Humboldt County and the city of Winnemucca, your efforts of you and your colleagues have really helped us and been fundamental in our decision to locate this facility within your community. We're focused on creating the best economic and environmental outcome for both parties. We're confident that this project can help support multi-generational growth opportunities for families in Winnemucca and in Humboldt County. We've had the privilege of scouting out several different locations within Humboldt County, and the announcement of our final location will come at a later date as we work through utility-related due diligence. Like I mentioned yesterday, we're working with water effluent treatment and primarily the power supply. And the largest reason we can't say, oh, it's right here today is because we're still getting information as to how much it's gonna, what sort of time and expense is gonna be involved in getting, for example, the electricity from the current electric line down to, a couple of candidate properties, and what's gonna be involved in that. And we just don't wanna sort of play the game of sort of location whack-a-mole. Once we come to you with a location, we want it to be definite and secure. What we're again talking about is an industry that is going to be multi-generational. We will have children and grandchildren and many generations down the line who will be able to work at a facility like this. These facilities find homes and are there for many decades and are able to provide opportunity not only for those who work at the facility, but the ancillary businesses that will come in to support and to be able to thrive because they're next to a containerboard facility like this. So it's not just us, but the other businesses that are likely to come and join and be part of this industrial neighborhood that will be able to be created with diverse opportunities for employment and careers and opportunity. We anticipate groundbreaking by the end of the year. We're hopeful that we can meet that timeline, and it will take about 2 years of construction. And so we think by 2026, we will be in full operation. Again, that's an optimistic view from our end, and people who bring projects before you live in a world of optimism, don't we? And so we certainly want to be able to meet that timeline. The engineering and construction and installation of the facility will be directed by Yates Construction of Philadelphia, Mississippi. We've had members of the Yates team out here in Humboldt County over the last year, and they they have seen what we see as a great opportunity to locate this facility, as they've looked at topography and the geotech studies and certainly the proximity to I-80 and rail that exists already. And so, you know, they share our enthusiasm for this location. Yates has a long history in northern Nevada of different projects that they have been involved in. Yates is a large construction company of about 10,000 employees across the world. And they were instrumental in several projects at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. And so their experience in Nevada and expertise here with similar recycling facilities such as ours will make them an ideal partner for being part of this project. When fully operational, the facility will produce over 1,000 tons of 100% recycled container board each day. And container board is a big round roll of brown paper. And so that's the product we make. When we sell that roll of paper, it will go to our customer and they will make the cardboard box out of it. So our product is actually the brown paper. As Michelle mentioned, the economic analysis conducted by Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development says the project has the capability to represent over $1 billion in total economic impact within the first 10 years, including capital investment, construction costs, and workers' salaries. In the end, the project has a simple but powerful purpose: capture and repurpose thousands of tons of recyclable materials, basically bales of cardboard that are going down the I-80 from the Intermountain West out to the Bay Area currently. And so those are the same bales of cardboard that we're going to divert off the freeway, bring them to this facility, and make container board once again that can be used in the circular economy of shipping and manufacturing and industry. And these will generate hundreds of good-paying, high-skilled careers. People will be able to work at the plant and be so very, very happy and proud of where they work, what they do, and how they're part of this integrated world of providing opportunity for themselves and those around them with their product. With that, I'm going to turn the time over to Ron, and he's going to take us through the slide deck and give you some of the information and the updates that we have available.
John mentioned container board. I just want to start with giving you a couple of samples of what the material will be that will get processed and remanufactured for us here. The container board is the outer paper material, and then the inner fluted material that creates the commonly used corrugated box. But you can take a look at that, and we might tear some of them apart just to get a look at the inside.
Excuse me, sir, would this be for all refuse? Paper, plastic, heavy plastic, and so on?
No, it's just bales of cardboard boxes, and we'll get to that in just a minute.
Yeah,
but it's not for all refuse, absolutely not.
Yeah, but thank you. And we'll, like John mentioned, we'll get right into those details. So the real objective here is to serve the growing market for container board across the western United States. Container board, this fundamental building block of shipping, commerce, agricultural products, retail items, all those things that come out of the manufacturing and agricultural sector, they need a shipping vessel, and that's what the container board provides. Again, it's to optimize the local reuse of those materials. As they're gathered here and gathered in the regions around about us, we can capture them, use them, create something new with them, rather than sending them thousands of miles away, or in some cases, halfway around the world for reuse. We can efficiently protect and manage water resources. Michelle mentioned that briefly, and we'll get into greater detail, but we have taken the necessity for efficient and careful water management at the top of our list. We're going to create additional opportunities for skilled labor. These are going to be those kinds of STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, manufacturing, that we talk about our young people learning and developing. These will be the jobs that they can take on. electrical engineering, manufacturing, all of those things that go into this type of process. We'll eliminate long distance shipping that's very costly as those recycled materials travel out and travel to different parts of the world for processing. And again, we're going to expand the region's manufacturing footprint. The diversification of the economic foundation of the county is really what we're envisioning through this project. Now, how did we come to Humboldt County? It's really important to us to be close to the demand centers, the proximity to the demand centers in the West. We began this project envisioning a location perhaps in the area around Salt Lake City, where my brother's former recycling company was operating. But what we've understood is that really critically important is being close to the end user. And the end user for these materials, in many cases, are located farther west, whether it be in California, Oregon, here in Nevada and Arizona. So getting the project moved along I-80, John likes to talk about the button on a string, we just moved it down the road to where we can now be 2.5 hours from the California state line. That's a fundamental, of fundamental importance to our end users. The logistics advantage, I've already talked about, but it really is critical. And the fact is, with rail and I-80 serving this community, it's a perfect place for this type of operation to be located. There's a skilled, trainable workforce. Folks who are in this area who have been dealing in other large mining operations, they'll have the kind of fundamental skill sets, operating with heavy equipment, pipe fitting, metal work, those types of things that go into the production and maintenance of a facility like ours. There's access to ample groundwater that can provide the process ingredient in making paper. And as Michelle pointed out, and I've got some more slides on this, we'll show you how we're going to reduce the use of water compared with existing agricultural opportunities in the area. And finally, there's the critical infrastructure around utilities that we are going to be relying upon, both for natural gas and electricity. You have very favorable business climate. That we've come to understand as we've gotten to know you better. You understand the need for this community, understands the need for new development and new ideas. You have a history of success. We like that history of success. It lays out for us a roadmap that we believe we can also follow. And again, you have significant experience in developing large operations. You've done this before. We're coming to help and be part of something new. Now, what's the community impact look like? First off, there's an economic diversification opportunity focused on a very green industry called recycling. We can take material that otherwise would be destined for landfill or for a long distance trip somewhere else, and we can make something useful and beneficial and cost effective out of it right here in Humboldt County. It's about a 24-month build out, which John touched on. The 108 employees will be doing things, everything from machine operators to engineers to logistics specialists. These will be a wide range of highly technical, high-skilled jobs that we're excited about bringing here. Competitive wages with what you currently see in mining, competitive healthcare benefits, really the type of high quality of life issues you're currently engaged in, we support that. And we want to be part of those high quality of life issues. We'll have some shorter commutes. We'll be a little bit closer than some of the long distance commuting that some of the folks might do around here, but that's a great opportunity for them to have maybe a more traditional schedule. We are, as the senior leaders, firmly committed to health and safety. I mentioned in some other conversations, John and I have done this for, in each case, 30 years. I've been in recycled paper since 1990. John's been doing it a little bit longer than me. And we know the critical role that employee health and safety represent. We'll talk about expanding the electrical grid because some of the sites we've been evaluating would require that, and investments that we will make already foresee exactly that type of electrical grid expansion and natural gas expansion. And finally, we want to be engaged in the community. We see here in Winnemucca and Humboldt County a place where we can be part of a growing and thriving community and bring some of our own thoughts and contributions to that work. Sustainability. Again, Michelle mentioned yesterday being Earth Day. For us in the recycling community, we do this every day. This is what pays the bills. Water management will be critical. We understand we operate here in an arid environment, so the use of water in a very thoughtful and methodical process is key. In recycling, in the paper production process, a good deal of water is used as it transits through the process and is then recycled and reused again. And then over time, you siphon some of that water off, introduce a little bit new water. This water goes to a water treatment facility and then is allowed to re-enter the aquifer after it's been fully treated and fully cleaned and brought back to the standards that the Nevada Division of Water Resources requires. And so each of those steps is a real critical assessment in how we do this. And we have developed from the very beginning of our process, the beginning of our project, a water management process that takes all of those steps into account. Yes, there will be water used on site, but that water is simply going to get borrowed. We're going to clean it up. It will meet all of the Nevada state requirements, and those regulators will help us ensure that what we allow to go back into the aquifer via the rapid infiltration basins is exactly within the standards set apart by the state of Nevada. Now, how much water gets used? It's about 1,300 acre feet annually of water that this type of process will utilize. That doesn't mean it will consume that amount of water. That water is taken in, it cycles through the process as I've described. It then cycles back around, is get used again, and after multiple times it gets siphoned away for water treatment, new water comes in, and that process allows us to return 75% of the processed water to the aquifer. In net terms, it's the water that basically would apply or would be used in one pivot of alfalfa, 360 acre feet a year. And that is essentially the consumptive use of the water. Everything else is going back in to the aquifer, being returned to the water system. And we have Dwight here from UES who can talk a little bit more about those details. Dwight, do you want to do that with us now? You want to come up and talk about hydrology?
Well, hi Dwight Smith, but Ron did such a
I'm
nice
on.
job
Okay.
summarizing. I'm here if you have more detailed questions.
Fantastic. Second point, when we talk about sustainability, many folks have experiences in at least knowing something about the production of paper, or they've been exposed to it in other conversations. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between old school paper and the modern recycling approach that we're going to be using. In paper mills built during the 20s, 30s, maybe even up to the 1970s, you had a very traditional approach of using growing wood fiber, natural wood fiber, grinding it down, exposing it to a certain number of chemicals, water, and heat in a digesting process that would release those cellulose fibers. We're not going to do that. In fact, we won't even have the equipment on site to do it if someone asks us to. We will use a completely different system which we will take in old boxes, cut into small pieces. Those boxes will then be placed into a large vessel, a large vat of water, where they're agitated and broken down into individual cellulose fibers without the need of additional chemicals, additional pressure, or additional additives like you might see in a traditional paper mill. While we use the word mill to describe what's going on, this is a completely different facility. It will recycle existing corrugated materials into new corrugated materials without doing any of the steps that goes on in other traditional places that you might have seen in the Pacific Northwest or other parts of the country. So it's really important to capture that difference. And you see here on the chart some of those key differences. We won't have lumber trucks rolling around carrying logs. We're not going to have the need to clear cut and replant trees. If someone brings us a tree, we won't have the equipment on site to even use it. We will only use recycled paper materials, old corrugated boxes, old office paper, any of those things that can be diluted and formed into a wet, massive fiber, just like if you dropped a newspaper in a puddle. That's exactly what we're going to do. Similar facilities that do this are located around the country and around the world. And we spent a good amount of time surveying and researching and visiting many of these locations. I want to highlight two of them if I can. Just outside Los Angeles in Riverside County is a large mill about the size of a large facility, about the size of the project that we intend to construct. And you might see a little yellow, a little orange dot right in the sort of center bottom left here, okay? And that location was begun in the 1980s before any of the other construction in this region had taken place. So you now have a manufacturing center here in Ontario, California. And right next to it, you've got some residential, some mixed use, residential and small industry. You've got a very large distribution and logistics area that is adjacent to the Ontario International Airport. And you've got a large retail section, including a very significant outlet mall. The Ontario Mills Outlet Mall is right there. All of this is construction that has happened after the recycling facility was put in place.
Yeah, sure.
If you take a look at this example, just outside Dallas in the city of Forney, Texas, you can see a nice residential and mixed-use area, beautiful open spaces on both sides, a very significant retail operation right across the interstate from the manufacturing segment that I'm pointing to. That manufacturing segment houses a twin machine paper operation. The retail section has a Walmart and a Home Depot and fast food restaurants. And there's a nice residential area that's been constructed consisting of both multifamily and single family housing. In sharing these two with you, what we're really hoping that we can communicate is that this operation is community friendly. This operation will permit additional growth and additional prospering of the community, as it's done in many other places. Now, our business model is pretty clear, and we shared some of the details with you, but this is one that we want to just take a moment and highlight. The red dots scattered across the United States are other container board facilities, both virgin-based and recycled fiber-based facilities. You can see there is a glaring, empty chasm in the middle where no facilities exist because over time, people have focused on where they could find growing stands of pine tree fiber in the southeast United States, in the Pacific Northwest, and in the upper Midwest. Because we have a different approach, because we're taking a modern approach to recycling and the use of 100% recycled materials, we're looking at the opportunity to place one in Humboldt County that can serve the need that we have in our region that is currently being met with shipments coming all the way across the country, spending expensive sums and emitting lots of greenhouse gases as those trucks have to travel this great long distance. We're going to do it here where it's more efficient, where it's appropriately situated for the demand base we have in the West. These are just details that highlight what I just told you. The bottom line is there's an unmet demand in the Western United States. That unmet demand is currently being supplied by long distance shipping, And we've got the opportunity to meet that demand and still have plenty of opportunities to be part of and serve the local community. We will be sourcing a set of equipment from a world-class machinery development company out of Finland. They build these systems worldwide, and we will have the opportunity to have that state-of-the-art global standard here in Humboldt County. That is very important to us because we want to be certain that what we're doing is being built for today and tomorrow and not looking back to the past. These are some details around how that machinery will work. The important thing to understand is that when we make this item, we'll make the outer layers and the inner fluted layer, and then it will go off to someone else to create the final shipper that you might see arriving at your doorstep, or you might pass by inside the grocery store, or any of the other places where you would come in contact with corrugated packaging. Our project partners out of Alabama and Mississippi, John has already mentioned, they are world-class developers and builders of this type of material. And then our friends, again, at Valmet in Finland. It takes us back to where we started. Why are we here? We're here to serve the growing market for containerboard across the western U.S. We're going to optimize the local reuse of recycled materials and develop recycling programs precisely for that. We're going to efficiently monitor, manage, and protect water resources in the area. We'll create through this effort additional employment opportunities for skilled labor, both for those who may come to join this community and for those who are growing up here and finding an opportunity that might be different and new for them. We want to create those opportunities for both. We'll eliminate long distance travel for all these raw materials. And again, we're going to create a diversified, expanded manufacturing base here in Winnemucca and Humboldt County. With that, we'd love to take your questions.
Excellent presentation, by the way.
Well, thank you. Did we get to your topic on
Yes, we
recycled?
did. Thank you, sir. Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any specific areas that you're looking at?
We are. We have been looking primarily between Winnemucca and exit 168 down at the airport industrial loop. That's sort of been the range of where we've begun to look and found several opportunities down there that look like they might be favorable for us.
And how much land, acreage-wise, whatever,
Sure.
do you need to make
Yeah.
this happen?
Fantastic. These sites can be as small as 60 acres. They can be as large as maybe 180, depending on the amount of size we'll need for the rapid infiltration basins. And so we're still determining exactly what that final size will be, but it's in that range. So I would say kind of we take 100 to 120 acres as a midpoint of what we might be looking at for the site itself.
And you're looking at all of the actual recycling as well as the water treatment happening completely within that location?
Exactly, yeah, it'll all be on site and we'll have our own internal road network so that trucks coming in from wherever they need to come in from, those trucks and that rail will serve directly into the site. So we'll build a rail siding, we'll have internal trucks so that they're not operating on state roads, they'd be operating on our own roads.
And the figure was 1.2 million gallons, per day used but not consumed.
Yes, only consuming about 25% of that. And the 25% goes into evaporation, because you gotta dry the paper, and it goes into the paper itself because you have a little bit of flexibility to form those rolls that John talked about.
And the recycled product come in on rail or truck and be shipped out on rail or truck?
That's correct. Certain of our customers will take rail delivery by preference, while others will take truck delivery, just based on where they're located. So we need both outbound opportunities, and then we want to bring in both inbound opportunities, just based on where it's coming from.
When you're looking at bringing in an abundance of material that you would recycle, are there any local recycling programs that you would intake raw materials also for that process, so that, I mean, materials wouldn't go to the landfill. They're-
Yeah, we wanna take everything we can get from you, and so Michelle, we've talked with Michelle about how we might begin looking at forming those. You know, you will have local recycling haulers that currently work with the region, and so we'll wanna coordinate and work with them, but John's got so much experience in the management and moving of recycled materials that for us is gonna be a key part of how we make this all come together.
You know, historically, Winnemucca and Humboldt County has been challenging to get curbside or any sort of a volunteer recycling program up, because the next step is many, many miles away, right? And so I can just predict you're gonna go from a challenging recycling program to the best one in the region because of the proximity to its next step in the valley.
And the question I might ask is, if you're anything like me, you've probably got a couple of corrugated boxes sitting in your garage because something showed up at your house and they're still sitting in your garage. We're gonna make those go away. We're gonna find a place to get every Amazon box you have. We'll find a place for it.
And then working with like the local mines and grocery stores and
Of
making
course.
sure that their bulk materials also go there as well.
I had that question as well, Ashley. I mean, probably a minute amount of business for you, but potentially a benefit locally very much.
We wanna take it all. Matter of fact, we talked a little bit about the mill's gonna be a little bit of a magnet for those things. Any corrugated box that wants to leave Winnemucca or Humboldt County is gonna have to have a real reason to do it, because the mill will be right here. The facility will be right here, and it will be capturing all of that material.
And how much do you store on the site of both ends, the used and the new one? Are you shipping it out right out?
Yeah, it's all make and ship.
Okay.
So, you know, it will be 2 or 3 days of inbound material, 2 or 3 days of outbound material. And that outbound material will be most likely stored in trucks and mail cars. So it's very seamless in its operation. We wanna get it, transform it, and get rid of it. There's
So
not a
not-
lot of storage.
So not a lot of storage inside buildings of,
Yes.
or anywhere else, you're gonna just process it?
Yeah.
Your hope is.
Make and ship. Make and ship.
What's
And that's been my background in paper making.
What's the turnaround time? Just when your product comes in, you have enough to get the system going, and then it's out the door.
Yeah, it's 10 days to 2 weeks. I mean, that's kind of the speed with which things get captured and processed. It's a very dynamic industry for as basic and perhaps unsophisticated as we might think packaging is. There's a great deal of sophistication that goes into managing the supply chain, managing arrivals and departures, managing how it gets made, converted. So it's a lot of fun.
I see on one of your slides where a lot of this, container board is imported from Mexico?
No, it's actually exported. We have a good deal of export to Mexico.
Okay.
The North American paperboard industry, containerboard industry exports quite a bit to Mexico. What we see in terms of importation comes from other areas, primarily Northern Europe, and a good deal actually from Australia. And so we see that coming into the Western United States. Paper making tends to follow fiber. And so the Nordic countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway, they love to make paper because they got a lot of fiber. And the same goes for the southeastern United States. When you drive through parts of South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, you'll find these large operations because traditionally there's been a lot of available pine tree fiber.
So are the traditional mills being kind of replaced with this recycling?
Yes, they are. Actually, it's a great question. Over the last 5 years, a significant number of older mills built in the 40s and 50s and 60s have been deactivated. And they're being replaced by modern recycling-based operations just like ours. And those replacements are coming in almost ton for ton. The numbers coming out are being replaced by this market of people coming in and building new facilities. That's a brilliant question, and it's exactly one that the industry is focused on.
So, did you mention that the one in Utah, the one that I assume you guys used to own?
Let's talk about Utah.
Has closed down, or?
Well,
Let's talk about it.
what I used to own was a recycling company that would collect and ship and process and ship bales out. So that's the business that I used to own and I, sold.
The precursor to what this facility will do.
Right, yeah.
How many times can you recycle?
About 7. It depends on the processing steps used in each individual facility, but a good, strong cellulose fiber, like we see in our North American market, tends to be about a 7 to 8 go-rounds before it decreases enough and then finds its way out to other uses. But we can make paper lots of times.
So in terms of being a community partner, I guess, can you address, hours of operation, potential noise?
Sure.
Noise pollution? I realize this is not the pulp mill, I grew up in, western Montana, Panhandle, Idaho.
Oh,
Pacific
you
Northwest,
did?
So I get
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Oh, good.
So your process, I mean, I understand you're not doing that, but what about chemicals, what about odor, that kind of thing?
Gotcha. Great, thank you for that background. Let's take those in order. So it will be a 24/7 operation. By their very nature, they operate around the clock because there's a constant flow of fluid, water and fiber that needs to continue to flow. Modern paper machines are equipped with large dryer doors that come down around the drying process, and they do a marvelous job at containing what was, at the time, a very noisy operation. So those dryer doors, our machinery will be equipped with those. And we'll have a certain setback that allows to keep the operation itself isolated. It's not a noisy operation to passersby. Inside the operation, of course, folks will wear hearing protection because that's part of the personal protective equipment. But passersby outside would have the benefit, of course, of the building, the dryer door, a muffling, and then, of course, the setback from any roadway. In terms of odor, what's really important is to understand, as you pointed out, that it's not what is in some of those other locations. So the chemical usage there, the use of sulfur dioxide in either the sulfate or sulfite processes that are common in those older mills, we won't even have the equipment to handle those. We won't be doing any chemical usage other than a little bit of cornstarch that goes into each roll of paper to make sure that it's stiff and flat and ready to print, just like you would starch a shirt. So that's the basic chemical compound is what's come in, the addition of the water, the addition at a certain part in the machine of cornstarch, and that's what it takes.
And you said it's gonna be 24/7, so 7 days, you'll have people there all the time. How many people work a shift?
Yeah, shift is about 35.
Okay.
And those are, again, machine operators, engineers, logistics folks. The automation in these new systems is just astounding. You see what can come out of a facility with, again, a workforce of 30, 35 folks.
Ron, have you guys talked about 8s or 10s, 8-hour shifts or 10-hour shifts?
Yeah, that's right. They'll tend to be 8-hour shifts. Thank you.
And you said a lot of your product is brought in by truck and by rail?
Combination, depending on the point of origin. For folks that are coming, for material coming out of the sort of Salt Lake and eastern areas from here, we would tend to see that material coming in on rail. We may be picking up some material out of Reno, for example, and that might be a truckload that comes up. And so whether it's coming out of those retail stores that we talked about or out of a materials recycling facility like the ones John used to own, they will make those individual decisions based on distance and time.
So as far as traffic, additional trucks coming on the road, what are you per day?
Yeah,
Average.
we anticipate truck traffic to be in the 40 to 60 a day type of timing. And we would time them, of course, so they're coming in at reasonable hours. We don't want trucks rolling in at 3 in the morning, but we certainly are gonna be able to do that. And what's interesting is, on one of my first visits out here to Winnemucca, I was at the Flying J, right? And I gotta tell you, I walked out after filling up a car with some gas, and here was a big, beautiful flatbed truck filled with old corrugated boxes. And they were working their way towards somewhere west of here. And we just sort of chuckled to ourselves, took some pictures and said, one of these days we can just have that person drop a load here and head back and pick up another one.
So on the average, 40 to 60 trucks a day?
That's for each of inbound and outbound, so it's probably a total of 100 to 120. And so
But rail will decrease that.
Yeah, rail.
For the degree we ship more on rail, those numbers drop.
So like you have your box there and then it ends up being this, but recycled boxes, like they have tape and they have labels and that stuff contains plastics. How
Yes.
are those separated out and making sure they don't end up in the water?
Going back to that hydropulper that I talked about, that big vat, right? That process includes a skinning off of all of that extraneous material. So staples that you might find in a big refrigerator box, the plastic tape that you can see right here attached, all of that gets removed in this process through what's called a ragger. And it creates this gathered up material that we separate away, and that then is actually a landfill item, but it's so minuscule and so light compared to all of the fiber value we get out of moving the boxes that it's a good trade-off.
So it's not blended where it's gonna be like
No.
chopped up, tiny. It
No.
is actually
It
separated.
is separated out. We extract that from that original hydrodynamic process, and we take out all of that extraneous material and we get it out so that when we form new paper, it's 100% new paper.
So Yates, are they bringing their workforce, or are they gonna try to recruit locally?
Combination. There will be construction, and I think we're talking about construction
Yeah.
time. There will be construction leads and supervisors with experience in this industry coming and working with those teams. There will be specialists, specialist electricians, specialist pipe fitters, specialist metal workers who come as part of that contingent. But there will be a great number of opportunities for local construction, local contractors to come in and work with these teams. We will not be bringing in all of those several hundred folks to do the construction. We will be pairing up with and combining with locally available contractors, with regional contractors, and then of course with sort of the senior level folk who have experience directing all of that effort.
Okay, one of my concerns there is if the lithium mine gets up and running, they're talking 2,000 construction workers. You're talking 600 construction workers. We have a pipeline extension that's gonna be 200. Where are we gonna put all these people? And where are you gonna get them from? Because we don't have 600 construction workers in town.
And we understand, the 600 again, that's a single data point at the highest point of construction. So we're gonna phase up and phase down. But yes, there will be an opportunity for us and others to work on some of that short-term workforce housing.
Okay. I just want you to be aware.
It is a blinking yellow light that we've got our eyes on.
Especially during the summer months when we have a lot of tourism coming through, motels fill up. We have a lot of motel room, but they will fill up, so.
Yeah, the Yates team that came out probably 8 months ago, we're very keen on exactly where we're gonna put these people, where we're gonna house them, and they were showing us, motels and the workers' camps and the other opportunities along with Pat. And so we had a very good tour about where we're gonna be able to house people. So they were farther ahead on this search than even Ron and I were.
Good. I know we've got builders looking at properties here for the housing, for the workforce that will eventually make this their home.
Right.
So I'm not as worried about that as the next 2 to 3
What's
years.
the provisional, yeah.
With all that construction workers being here, being a 24/7 town, creates challenges for our law enforcement and, our community, so. Just things to be thinking about.
We will take that note for certain.
So when you're looking at the cost of the project, historically, we have, people that come into town and say, we're gonna do this big project, and then market crashes or something happens, and something, a hotel sits half done for a couple of years. Can you talk a little bit about the capital outlay for the project, and then the funding certainty or confidence as far as, whether it's all secured at this point, whether you're still working on securing it, and where that is?
Yeah, thank you. So capital outlay, we're still establishing exactly what the final engineering requirements will be and what those costs are gonna be in terms of CapEx. But we are very comfortable that the CapEx is relevant to the industry. It will be an industry appropriate figure. But I don't have an exact number for you on that today. In terms of our fundraising and the way we're building our capital foundation behind us, we are working with a very skilled equity funder out of Salt Lake City that has built other similar manufacturing facilities, not in this industry, but actually in the mining industry. And so we've got folks who are equipped to do this, experienced at doing it, and they're working very diligently and working globally to help us raise funds. In addition, we have had some very good conversations with the supplier of our machinery, that they are interested in helping with the capital development and how they might be able to fund some of this and support some of this through export credits from the Finnish government. So we've got layers of funding all coming to this project because they see the same opportunity that we're talking about and we're sharing with you, and that is it's a growth industry. It's an industry that is favored right now because of the move towards more recyclables. All of those pieces are attractive to our funders. John and I, we do not have the capital in our back pockets today, but we feel very comfortable that our back pockets are where they need to be, and we're going to be in place. We will follow the time-wise admonition of getting all your ducks in a row, and we're not going to start building the tower before we know we can finish it.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time, your presentation. I think it's nice to diversify our economy, add jobs. Growth is important to the sustainability of the city and the county. I realize your operational will be in the county, so you'll be dealing mostly with the county and that type of things, permitting and that, so but I think you pretty much probably have support from the city, but
Well, we appreciate
good
the
luck
chance
with
to-
your project, hope you can
Sure.
pull it together and
Yeah, thank you guys for coming in.
become good neighbors with our community.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
These are very creative, by the way. Very slow.
You guys need to report that on your disclosure statements that you received a massive amount of bling today.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, administration, recreation complex. Proposals to provide professional services to produce construction drawings for the recreation complex amphitheater project. A, landscape architect services by LA Studio in the amount not to exceed $17,350. B, civil engineering services by Christie Corporation in the amount not to exceed $24,150. And C, electrical design services by BK Electrical in an amount not to exceed $10,600. Alicia?
At the last meeting, we went through the conceptual design of the amphitheater, which was prepared by LA Studio, to make sure we were going on the right track. These three contracts, would be to take the amphitheater project all the way to construction, and each of them also provides construction support services for their piece of the design. LA Studio would be our main contact for the project, so they'll be the main overseer of the project. The civil engineering services by Christie Corp include the, all of the grading, the seating design, as well as the parking lot that is planned for the amphitheater. The electrical design services include all of the electrical that might be needed for lighting and for equipment that performers would have. So these three proposals, at the end of this, we will go out to bid and, move forward with the construction project.
So I'm thinking PK Electrical got the design work from LA Studios and said, this is approximately how much it would cost, that's how they come up with that.
LA Studio, Mark Chappelle that was here last meeting, did reach out to Christie Corp and PK Electrical to request these proposals on our behalf, for this project.
Alicia, I meant to ask this last meeting and now it's occurring to me. I don't have the conceptual drawing in front of me now, but they've, I'm sure, taken into account any necessary handicapped accessibility, seating, all of that, that would be appropriate to this amphitheater setting. I mean, I'd hate to see something brand new that wasn't accessible, fully accessible.
The parking lot has accessible parking spaces, accessible ramps up to the sidewalk. And then the entire first row of seating is on concrete, so it will be totally, the front row will be totally accessible and will meet
Those are all code requirements.
They
Yeah.
are, but
Choice
I've
on
had a
this.
couple of people ask me that, like, you know, some of our ADF people and whatever, and I thought, yeah, I will verify that that's.
One thing that has come up that may be considered in the future is not part of this, is restrooms, because the restrooms that are up by the splash pad will be up a significant hill from the amphitheater. So I have been looking at options for restrooms down by the amphitheater, maybe at other parts of the recreation complex, so, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, no, that's fine, thank you, that, I just didn't have it in front of me to look at that accessibility. Right this.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposals to provide professional services to produce construction drawings for the Recreation Complex Amphitheater project for landscape architecture services by LA Studio in an amount not to exceed $17,350, civil engineering services by Christie Corporation in an amount not to exceed $24,150, and electrical design services by PK Electrical Inc. in an amount not to exceed $10,600 per staff recommendation.
Motion on the floor, any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4. Administration, American Rescue Plan Fund. Report on American Rescue Plan Act funds, expenditures and status of ARPA funding projects.
The quarterly report for January through March of 2024 has been submitted, and that report is included in the packet. I also included the summary table that shows all the projects and kind of the status of the projects. So the only 3 things we have open at this time is the downtown streetscape project, which is underway with design workshop. The recreation complex projects, which include the amphitheater, the pump track, the pickleball courts, those are all also underway. And then the Well 8 project, which I received a preliminary site plan from Shaw Engineering last week for the Well 8 project. So that is also progressing. It was good to get an update from Shaw regarding that project. So we are moving forward with all of our ARPA projects. Our total allocation was around $10,400,000. We've obligated 8.3 million, 8.4 million, and we've expended around 7.8 million. So the obligation, we need to obligate the full 10.4 million by the end of 2024. Which, when we go out to bid for the improvements to the downtown area, when we go out to bid for the actual construction of the amphitheater, and out to bid for the construction of well 8, that will, all of those funds I anticipate will be obligated at that time.
Questions? We move on to item number 5, administration. Bode Howard Memorial Pool New Aquatic Center. Proposals, studies, and reports for developing a plan for abandoning the existing Bode Howard Memorial Pool and options for funding and developing a new aquatic center. Alicia?
Okay, we have our first cost estimate for the aquatic center. So NIT submitted their initial design to the cost estimating company, which I can't remember the name right now. And they put together this initial cost estimate. It's pretty detailed, and it includes everything that NIT included in their design, and so you can look at that if you'd like to, but the bottom line number is we're looking at 28.3 million for the aquatic center project. So we have a starting point for requesting funding.
And it is very detailed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So will this, now with this cost estimate, will this go back to the aquatics, there was a small committee or whatever to, you know, kind of reevaluate, brainstorm
So
funding?
one thing we're waiting for a little bit, and that we should have soon, is kind of like the final package of renderings from NIT. And we will gather up the committee to show the renderings, to show the cost estimate and discuss it. But initial thought and conversation with the mayor was, we might as well start with the request and see what we get. And then we could cut back on the design depending on the funding available, or brainstorm ideas for getting additional funding. But at this point, we really don't know, can we get the 28 million? We haven't asked anybody. So we at least have a starting point, and we can see what we can.
And I think there are sources receptive to this out there that have indicated that they would support, I don't know, to 28 million, but at least we'll see how far we can get with it, and we'll see where we can go from there.
It's a hard thing, because our community's not shrinking, it's only growing, so we
Yes.
wanna do the maximum that we can,
And,
capacity-wise.
you know, rather than chop up a project and have something that is less than what we've looked at and what we all like,
Yeah, and it doesn't serve our needs
they're
overall.
always
Right.
better to overbuild than underbuild.
Yeah.
So,
Well, especially since Bode Howard is 40 years old. I mean, we know whatever we're gonna build is gonna be at least 40 years old. Well, we hope it is.
It's a goal.
Yeah. And I had a couple of questions, just because it's 20 million, and then they have the contingencies of 10%, 10.67%. This escalation to midpoint at 10.67, it's like right on the second page. Can you explain what that actually means? Does that mean that the increase in prices is included in the 10.67%, and the design is also another 10% on top of that?
Yeah, so on that page, so based on everything included in the design, the cost estimate was 20.3 million. Then the cost estimator has built in a 10% contingency for anything that may be missed in the design. They didn't include something. The 10.67 escalation to midpoint of 8/20/25. So they're estimating that the earliest we could possibly start construction is probably August 2025. That's a very nice, I mean, we'll be pushing
Yeah.
to get there. So they're estimating 10.67, inflation, basically in materials to August 2025. General conditions is just, it's at 7% to cover those that might come up, during construction. And contractor will have overhead to profit, and then the insurance and bonds. So they're really accounting for, they've built in a lot of room for things that could come up. So they're trying to give us a number that they do not think we will go over based on conditions.
And when I read all this, I felt like this was the worst case scenario. I mean, if you got it all, the worst would be writing a check for 28 million, but there's potentially some savings within that, just based on those 5 lines or 6 line items. I think it's exciting, and obviously I do.
So now, does NID come back with a package that gives us like the funding stuff now, or does that come later? Process work.
The next presentation that NIT will be doing is more of the inside, the renderings of the inside of the facility. After that, I haven't asked them when they expect to have a marketing package to us, but they will combine all the renderings into a nice package that shows the outside, the inside, and cost, and that we will be able to present to entities that may have funding for us. But the next meeting here, not next meeting, but the next time NIT is here, they will mostly cover all the inside elements of the facility.
I agree, this is a great place to start. I think we need to find out what our community needs. I do agree, Rich, we need to build something for the future. And this allows a lot of, in the perfect location, expands that park, more opportunities for our citizens up there. It's just a great potential addition to our community. And Humboldt County, I mean, this is a
And we have received the final geotechnical report also last week, so NIT has that to incorporate into the final design documents also.
And my wife is Jimmer back as his oldest sister.
And is that good to go as far as the material that they were looking for in that one spot, or?
Yeah, NIT will be able to design the foundation to mitigate any effects that there may be from that organic material.
Okay. That concludes our regular agenda. We'll move on to staff and council. Alicia?
Okay, I talked about the budget project a little bit, at the time that I wrote the status report, I was expecting the site plan, we have now received the site plan. And Shaw Engineering is proceeding with final design as soon as we give them the approval of the site plan, which I don't see any issues with it at this time. The BLM seat base expansion project, Armstrong has provided an updated conceptual layout. There's been a little bit of discussion back and forth between BLM and Armstrong on finalizing that concept before Armstrong moves forward with the final design of that project. At the recreation complex, I'm still working on the bid package for the pickleball court project. The contract for the pump track and bike park was awarded at the March 5th meeting. The professional services contracts for the amphitheater were awarded today, so all of those are moving forward. The downtown streetscape project design workshop has nearly completed, documenting the existing conditions and all the survey results, so I'm expecting that at any time. They will be here on May 15th to hold some more community stakeholder meetings, so I will get more information out to everybody on times and where those meetings will be held. The community garden just had a cleanup day on April 19th, I believe. I have not talked to anybody to see how that went, so not sure the results of that. The general aviation apron hard stand project, we received the draft technical memorandum from Summit Engineering, but not the final, so still waiting on the final from them on that. The Stewart Pike to Angel Sewer and Water Project is still under design, the survey work has been completed. And then our 2024 pavement maintenance project, we're working on the bid documents for that. It is an RTC project, so it cannot start until after July 1st, because it will be funded in the next fiscal year. And it includes all streets from Hanson to East Winnemucca Boulevard and between railroad tracks and Mainer Street. And that's it.
Any questions of it?
Where's the pickleball court going to be again?
It's, right next to the splash pad, or next to the fitness park.
Oh, okay. I went by the community garden on Sunday. I think they need to see back to your comment from 2 years ago. Alicia, with the bulldozer. It's pretty rough.
Other questions, Mike?
Just the negotiations that we're kind of moving forward, maybe. So,
Teresa?
WCBA met last week, a fairly brief meeting. There was some funding, grant requests, or in-kind facility, excuse me, request granted to the Lions Club for the Festival of Trees, which this year will be followed by a community tree lighting ceremony that is going to be the Lions Club, I believe they said, the Chamber, Main Street, and the Fire Department. So following the Festival of Trees, there will be a tree lighting out on Nixon Lawn. Also a small facility grant to the hospital auxiliary, and then a little bit larger funding provided to the Nevada Safety Olympiad. Last summer was their first time that event moved here, and they've asked to come back, so that was good. Other items that were mentioned through the director's report, there was a pre-construction walkthrough for the exterior renovation East Hall project. They remain hopeful that work will start there mid-May. There was some conversation with NV Energy, and they are going to be rerouting the power. They're able to do that, and so that large power pole that sits right on the edge of Nixon Lawn, right in front of that side of the building, will be gone. So that will be nice for aesthetic purposes, among other things. Optimistic to perhaps finish that project by November. We'll see how that goes. In terms of room tax, things are down slightly year to date, not alarmingly, but down. So we'll see how the spring and summer tourist season goes. Thank you.
Yes.
Our Humboldt Foundation meeting keeps on getting bounced around, so I have nothing to report on that. I hopefully will be meeting in May. We had a HDA meeting last week, and Michelle, sorry she left, but Michelle is doing a very nice job for HDA. There's a lot of things that she's doing, and in some cases, maybe being spread too thin. And some of the parts of our meeting at HDA was maybe the city of Winnemucca and Humboldt County need to get together and see what these 4 pages are really doing for us. Maybe make some priority lists so that we don't spread her out so much. And I know she's asking for additional help, and get an understanding of why and what and where that money comes from. But it just seems like there's a lot of things that 1 or 2 people are doing that, and don't get me wrong, she's doing a fantastic job, but I think our focus needs to be brought down a little bit and find out the real necessities that we need her concentrating on and go from there. Other than that, that's the only meetings I had.
We had a landfill meeting on the 15th. There was $98 written off that were unpaid. everything else with the landfill is going well, and that's all I have.
Okay,
Yeah, I attended the landfill and not much really to report on. Did attend the party in the park this past weekend. That was pretty successful. Wendy Rayner with the WDDS board said that there was about 32 booths that were supposed to sign up, and she said that they were only short 8. So, successful event overall. Attended an FCC meeting just prior to the meeting today. And, Brooke passed out some surveys to the junior high and middle schools. Surveys with regards to drug, alcohol, and tobacco use. And had the kids fill them out, and she got them back. She has not had time to actually compile all the results, but we kind of perused through a handful of them today, and it's sad to say that most of our juveniles have had some kind of usage in the middle school and the junior high, or know somebody, or has friends, see it in the home. And, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate to see that this is still very much prevalent in our schools. But aside from that,
okay. Tom, you have anything for us?
No.
Chief? You got anything for us?
No, sir.
I really don't have anything yet. Like Mike said, negotiations are moving forward. We had our monthly department head meeting last week. Some good conversations, and other than that, I've got nothing to add. So at this time, we'll open it up for public comment and communications. You know, I should have told you guys,
You were done a long time ago.
you were part of the consent agenda. But
Thank you. So we're good?
I know you're retired and don't have anything to do.
I'm not retired yet.
So you guys are approved.
Oh, okay.
I should have mentioned that back then.
No problem at all.
Well, thank you,
Guys,
everybody.
I'm good.
thought you were
Good luck,
just
though.
interested.
Thank you for being our audience today. Again, we'll call for any more correspondence, communication, public comments. Not seeing or hearing any, we'll adjourn our meeting.